Hey guys, welcome to SparkPoint. In today's video, we are going to be going over the bare-bone essentials of Adobe Premiere Pro. This tutorial is for those who have never used Adobe Premiere Pro and just need a really quick jumping off point. Let's get right into it. When you open up Premiere, you'll want to click New Project. You'll then be prompted to name your project. Once you've named your project, click Browse to choose where you want your project to be saved. It's best practice to create a folder for every new project you create where you'll save your project and store your footage and other related files. Go ahead and click OK to start your project. I'm going to quickly walk you through the important parts of the user interface here. In this top bar, you'll see several different tabs which are called workspaces. At this point, you only need to worry about the editing workspace, which we're in by default, the effects workspace, and the color workspace, which we'll get into a little bit later. Below the top bar on the right, we have our viewport, where you'll view your edit. In the bottom left, you have your project panel where you'll pull in your footage and other related files. Just to the right of that, we have our editing tools, and to the right of that, we of course have our timeline where you'll actually be cutting your footage. The first thing you'll do to start your edit is import your footage. The easiest way to do this is to drag your files into Premiere from the folder they're stored in. You can also go to File, Import to browse for the files. Once you have your footage inside of Premiere, you'll want to start a sequence. The easiest way to do this is to drag one of your clips from the project panel into the timeline. This will automatically match the sequence settings to the footage settings, meaning the resolution and frame rate which you shot your footage in will remain the same inside your sequence. Premiere makes editing your footage incredibly simple. First, you'll want to familiarize yourself with the timeline marker here. Dragging this around the timeline will allow you to scrub quickly through your edit. Pressing space will automatically start playing your edit in the timeline. So now let's get to actually cutting. Let's say you just want to trim the beginning of this clip. Dragging your cursor over the beginning of that clip will reveal a little red handlebar. You simply drag to the right to your desired length to trim the clip. You can do the same at the end of your clip as well. If you'd like to make a cut in the middle of your clip, you'll want to use the razor tool. You can find the razor tool in the tools panel or use the much quicker keyboard shortcut C. Click the spot on your clip where you'd like to make the cut and boom, you've made a cut. You can use the keyboard shortcut V to bring back your selection tool. Another thing I'd like to note is you have the ability to drag your clips around the timeline as you please. Let's bring in some more footage. Come back over here to your project panel and double click the next clip you want to bring in. This time you'll see the preview pop up over here on the left in what's called the source monitor. Hitting play over here will allow you to watch your footage before bringing it into the timeline. Furthermore, you can trim your footage before bringing it into the timeline. Using the keyboard shortcut I for in will place an in point at your playhead. You can later place an out point using the keyboard shortcut O for out. You can then bring your trimmed clip into the timeline by dragging it. Now, a very important and helpful feature inside of Premiere I'd like to draw attention to is called snapping. When turned on, snapping will essentially magnetize your clips and make it easy to bump one clip right up to the other. With snapping turned off, it becomes difficult to bump these clips up against each other without overlapping one another. To toggle snapping on, you simply have to press S on your keyboard. You can also turn snapping off using the same keyboard shortcut. Now let's talk real quick about the audio. If you want to add music to your edit, you'll import the music file the very same way you've imported your footage. Dragging your audio into the timeline works the very same way as well. You'll likely not want to hear your camera's audio with the music, so you can simply mute the track associated with your camera's audio, which in this case is track 1. Now I'll briefly touch on the effects and color workspaces. In the effects workspace, you'll notice the addition of the effects panel on the right. Here you can add video transitions, such as a simple cross dissolve. To add a transition, you simply have to drag it between two clips in your timeline, and boom, you've got a transition. There's a lot of effects presets that you can play around with, but that's all I'm going to cover for now. In the color workspace, you'll notice the addition of the Lumetri Color panel. Now there's a lot to be covered here that I won't cover, but mess with some of these parameters to familiarize yourself with Lumetri Color. At a very basic level, you can make small adjustments to your color and your exposure, and that's likely all you'll need as a beginner. The last thing I want to cover is exporting your final edit. When you're happy with your edit, go to File, Export, and Media. By default, your format should be set to H.264 and the preset will be set to match source high bitrate. For sake of ease, I would leave all of this as is. Then click next to the output name. Here you can choose where on your computer the final video file will be saved. And you can of course name your final video. Click Export and your video will begin to export out. Alright, that's it. You should have everything you need to jump right into Premiere and start editing. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about Adobe Premiere Pro or any other creative applications, please do consider subscribing. We have a ton of great content in the works. And if you found this tutorial helpful, please give us a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. Happy editing.